Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Verly here, and today I'm bringing you a new video talking about why Black Ops Zombies fell off. The community and possibly a lot of the most active players are going down, and I have a few reasons to why that is. And before people say something, I do enjoy the new Treyarch zombie modes, and I'm not just trying to say that these new modes are terrible. I just bring in new points up that may have made others quit, or just overall the community die down to a smaller portion. And you know, I've been starting to play these new game modes more and more, and it's actually pretty fun. But that doesn't mean that the Zombies trilogy itself isn't holding up to what it once was. And today I'm going to bring you a few reasons as to why it fell off. Just to start this off, we gotta be honest here, the gameplay for Zombies is just getting stale now. We're used to the same exact routine constantly when playing these maps, which is get points, go find power, hit the box, get perks, and go for the highest round possible. And I do note that some people play the complete Easter eggs, which do change for each map, but that isn't everybody, and even then, you still have to go through that normal routine even to do that. And of course, a lot of people will say that it isn't Zombies without these features, and that is true, but that same exact style for every map just made the game mode itself stale. Although I still find it fun to play, it doesn't mean that the core of it all isn't getting old, and that's why I actually like BO4 a ton right now, which is opening up challenges to reach these goals, making it more interesting to play. Overall, this constant cycle for nearly every Zombies map is making the game mode stale. This is a little bit of an editor's note here, but I do want to mention that the newer games have gotten easier to play over time. Typically in the older maps, players have had an easier start, but it gets progressively harder as you play the map. But it's the exact opposite for the newer ones. As in the newer maps, you have a very hard start trying to set up everything, but it gets progressively easier because you get more and more powerful items that last for a very long time. And pretty much that takes a lot of the challenge away in these newer maps, making it possibly feel more stale or overused, as people might say, well, the game is so much easier now because I understand it, but it's not just necessarily that, it's just because the challenge itself is being taken away as you get to the higher rounds in the newer games. The newer games are a lot more complicated than they were back in the original Black Ops game, and I believe this led a lot of the original players of the series to leave. But a positive to this is that it kept the game fresh. These constant new features have gotten the game to new heights and made the game feel new again, hence their fix for the game mode getting stale. But I do feel as certain things have made the game far more complicated than it has to be. Every single map brings something to completely learn in order to master it, which some players just don't have the time or just too lazy to figure these things out, drawing a lot of crowds away from the newer games. Although I will agree that these changes were needed to try to make the game fresh, but some of these things were not even needed, and they tried to implement it into the story of the game, which is now terrible. The whole story now is far too complex to understand, and it's something that you have to sit down and study on for a while just to get the gist of what's happening in the newer maps. With that, I just feel as a lot of the community left because of the overcomplication of the game itself and the story too. A lot of people will say that the COD community is still very strong, but the community always has been disappointed with the newer releases, with a lot of people being angry with the futuristic gameplay, and I do believe that with that hatred, the game mode suffered some hefty damage, with a lot of players probably not buying the game because of the negative attitude to the franchise itself. Not only to add that people are disliking COD, it may be because of the microtransactions everywhere. Microtransactions have been added to nearly every single game that is in the mainstream, and a lot of people are starting to get sick of it, making people feel like they're missing out on a lot of these games because they just don't want to put money into it. So if you add this all together, it might make people not want to buy the game or just get into these newer games, which would diminish the overall player count for any of these zombie games. Over time, other Call of Duty developers have realized how popular the zombies game mode is, and they decided to make their own zombie game modes. This contributes to the downfall of the Black Ops Zombies game mode, because usually there would be a break in between the Black Ops game modes, and which would give everybody a break from zombies. So when the next zombies game mode comes out, people were excited, but with no break, people don't get the usual thrive for new content. People are being constantly fed instead of building hype, which also can go back to the gameplay staleness point, where people got bored of the gameplay because it constantly kept on appearing. And a little bit of a side thing here, that's why I really like the Extinction game mode in Ghosts. It was a good way of creating a side game mode to the game while not copying exactly what the popular was at the time. It was fundamentally different, which made the zombies game mode not feel overused at the start, but other developers couldn't think of original stuff like that anymore, so they just went with what was popular at the time, zombies, which in return made the genre itself decline in popularity. And with that, the genre of COD Zombies has fallen off to nothing of what it once was. It was once a fresh and new concept, but is now nothing but an overused game mode that has lost its taste over time. Sure, Treyarch has still made a fun, exciting experience, but it just doesn't have the same feel as it once had. But how do you feel? Do you still actively play the game? Let me know in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.